How you doing, Doc?
Hey, not too bad, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
I'm actually rather agitated right now. Very
What's up?
agitated. Really fucking pissed.
Okay, what's happened?
Quite a bit, Doc. And I'm gonna give you a list of things. And the reason I want to talk to you, Doc, is because I think you have a good head on your shoulders. All right.
Okay.
And this is not me glazing you. This is because I think you are surrounded by a bunch of fucking idiots. Let me start by underlining a conversation and a type of behavior that I've been witness to. I attend the LSPD meetings. The Marshals show up. Perfectly fine, right? In the meeting, whatever. But there's been now a pattern behavior of Marshals going up there and telling the cops how to do their job, right? Now, inherently, that wouldn't be an issue, right? You see something's not being done right. You sort of explain, hey, it should be done this way. We're noticing this, whatever. But there's kind of quite a matter-of-fact way and talking down to sort of tone that comes into play, right? First and foremost.
Yeah.
I'll give you a very specific example. If you see X, Y, and Z, you have probable cause to give someone transaction of drugs. Now, first, this took place last week, right? Not once, but twice. Now, I asked during the meeting, I said, first off, as a former lawyer, hearing what I did, I kind of interjected and I said, how are you going to tell people that if they have A and B, that they have probable cause when that particular officer is the one that needs to articulate it? Aren't you creating a environment where these officers may end up charging someone inappropriately? Like, what are you going to do some training on this? Are you following with what my logic?
No, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. And another marshal got up on the podium and goes, we don't do training. That's not our job. And so I bit my tongue because I didn't want to start an argument in the meeting. But I pulled him aside afterwards. I'm like, what is this you're not going to do training thing? Because inherently, if you're going up to a podium with a bunch of officers with varying levels of training and say, if this happens, you must charge this, you are giving them a directive to charge a certain way when they may not actually have the probable cause. But then you're equally saying that you're not willing to have any kind of training session or some kind of like, hey, this is how you do this and that. You're actually setting them up to fail. So, and the response was, well, we're an oversight. My problem here, Doc, is what I'm trying to underline here is I'd like this problem to somehow get resolved. And specifically, in order for our law enforcement agencies to function, they got to work together. But if officers are being monitored, right, and are being told you got to do X, Y, and Z with zero form of guidance, examples, etc., it's going to lead to misery for everybody. And I guess my reason for calling you is, do you have any insight? Is this something you could do? Do you see this as a problem? How do we fix this?
I'm not quite sure about this specific incident.
It's like, patterned. I gave you a example of some pattern behavior. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of like, I think there's an obvious, if the marshals, I guess talking about patterns, if the marshals seeing a pattern of behavior that is a problem, right? Then I guess, there's going to want to be a situation where they're going to want to step in and make a correction. They're going to want to make a correction.
Yes.
Right? So I guess your argument is you want them to step in and train
Well, it could
instead
be,
of just
well, it could be either way, right? Because what is correctness, right? What is when you correct something, making laissez-faire statements is not corrective.
I mean, yeah, I guess you can say that.
It's like me saying, do your job, Doc, and then you'll be like, what the fuck does that mean?
No, I can agree with you. I mean, like when I was an officer, do your job on answers weren't the best, and you know that you definitely I can agree with you that you know if they keep happening,
Yeah.
they're definitely going to bring the PD down.
Yeah.
You know, I can agree with you on that point. I guess there's there's a question to be had that you know if I guess there's a question to be had as to if this is happening several times, because obviously I haven't been at these meetings and I don't know
Yeah.
the context of why these announcements are having to be had. You know, why are the marshals having to step in and tell the PD how to charge a certain way?
Well,
Why is that needing to happen in the first place?
agreed.
Is
Agreed.
there a lack of training from the PD side of things?
Well, how can anyone deduce it when it's a generic do your job? You get what I'm saying? So if you stand up in a meeting with a varied set of individuals and you're like, do this because you're not doing it. Well, number one, there's no examples. So you're talking to people that may not even be involved in the corrective measure, right? So let's say, Bob, Susie, and Michelle are the ones that are not following these directives. And now you go up and you're like, hey, you guys are not doing this right. But those individuals aren't even present. Number one, there's no inherent example of who's not doing it, what the resolution is, and how you get to that, how you're supposed to get to that resolution.
Yeah.
Right?
No. Yeah, it's like going into, it's like going into a room full of, I don't know, high command and telling them how to drive the new interceptors. Like, that's not their job, you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's exactly it. There's a second point here. It makes me ask the question, if this is an issue, why is LSPD High Command not being spoken to? Because it seems rather out of band for any Tom, Dick, and Harry that's got a Marshal badge going in, saying things out of band. Because my first question is it that particular Marshal that sees an issue? Is it all the Marshals that see this and they're acting on behalf of the entire agency? And and whichever those two are, why they're not going directly to High Command so that High Command can resolve it in a reasonable manner, right? Because otherwise now you get in the circumstance where the Marshals can walk away and be like, oh yeah, I pointed this out. Well, pointing it out at a meeting isn't going to resolve to any, it's not going to lead to any positive outcome. Because I think as much as I do, you go into a meeting, you say some shit, right? That's not, you're not going to get any resolution out of that.
So are you saying they haven't gone to High Command?
I have, no.
So they have, so you've spoken to Marshal and Peters and they haven't gone to High Command?
Correct.
And have they gone to any members of PNT?
How are they going to, why would they go to PNT?
Because that's
the
training.
Marshals. The Marshals have not gone to High Command. So what are they going to go to PNT about?
Because that's the training division, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
The Marshals. Wait, are you asking me? Did I go to High Command and tell them what the issue was?
No. I'm asking, did the Marshals go to the personnel and training and say, this is an issue, that this is not happening. No. I think this needs to be trained upon. If that happened?
If they did, it would have had to have been in the last 48 hours. But they did not at the time of these announcements. The most that was done was a generic statement that was sent out. over Discordia.
Okay, who was that by?
I'm sorry?
Who was that done by, sorry?
Espinoz. Now, I will say that Espinoz understood my perspective, and he took it into consideration. However, the response that I heard from Nova and Anna was concerning. Doc, do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Do you see my perspective?
Yeah, I do. I understand your perspective. I do. Because, you know, you don't want, I get it. I do.
Okay.
I think I want to make sure that there's not been some kind of level of miscommunication here. That, you know, I don't know whether these individuals have not already gone to certain people about this. And because obviously I'm hearing this from you instead of, you know, Moss or Peters. Have they reached out to any of the marshals?
They Trig had a bit of a conversation, but this is I don't think it is inherently necessary for them to reach out. So this becomes like a which way does the communication take place, right? If the directive is coming from a party, it is the obligation of that party to do the communication, not the other way around, right?
No, I agree with you. But I guess this is the point I'm trying to make is the complaint coming from the LSPD or is the complaint coming from you?
I'm giving you the complaint. Yes, I think it's fucking dog shit. As the mayor who oversees public services, etc., and needs to ensure that the LSPD is functioning properly, watching a bunch of fucking dog shit marshals come in and say some random demeaning shit in a meeting is not the way things should be handled.
Wait, does the PD have any issues with what the marshals are doing?
Of course they do.
Hi. I'm going to have to hear that from the horse's mouth, though, you understand?
You need to hear from high command that this is an issue?
I mean, I'm not to act on it, but I am going to have to, you know, if they have issues with it, I'd like to hear from them and not just from, you know, not just from you.
So you're saying that these events may not have taken place?
No, not at all. I'm not saying I don't believe you, Nino.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I want to know that the LSPD has an issue.
Okay.
I know that you have an issue with it,
please,
but I don't know that the LSPD has an issue with it.
By all means, we'll have them give you a call. But regardless, what is your course of action here?
I'll have discussions with my chain of command.
Okay, perfect. That said, I want to go extend this even further. Where does the line with the marshals begin, and where does it end when it comes to the police department? What is oversight in your mind?
What do you mean by that?
Well, the marshals are oversight, right?
Right.
So what is oversight? Define that for me.
We oversee the police department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that mean to you?
We keep the PD. We make sure there's no corruption or criminal happenings within the PD.
Okay.
We make sure the PD, the law enforcement, is running smoothly within the state.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of our job. We follow the legislation.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, what does that mean in practice? Like, if you need me to be more direct, I can be more direct.
I'd love it.
Okay. So oversight is very vague, right? Does it mean you get involved in cases that would traditionally be handled by the departments? When do you get involved? When do you not get involved?
I think it's a case by case basis, right?
Yeah. All right.
Because just because we have oversight is one thing, but the state marshal's office is also a state law enforcement agency.
Yeah.
Which can take state jurisdiction on cases at any time. So there's on one side we are an oversight agency, but on the other hand, we're a state law enforcement agency.
Right. So in other
So
words,
with-
what you're saying is that if there is an active case by a department or by both departments, you can take over that case.
I think it's legislation that reads that the San Andreas State Marshals is a state law enforcement agency.
Yep. Right. It does.
Right?
Yeah. So where does it begin and where does it end? You said it's case by case. Is there? And so what you're saying is that it's kind of up to you guys when you can pick and choose when you do and when you don't. Would that be accurate?
For which I don't know whether that would particularly be accurate, Nino, because again, it's a case by case basis.
Okay.
I think you're looking for a certain answer, and I'm not just going to
No,
give you.
I'm actually not. I'm asking for clarity. So
Is this
let
in
me,
terms of oversight or
Yeah,
what
oversight.
do you look?
Yeah, oversight. So this this kind of goes back to my original point that I was trying to make, and because you asked the question, I need to hear from high
Right.
command about this, right? So I'm folding into the thought process, and I'm saying, look, if the marshals are supposed to be oversight, right?
Right.
On one hand, coming in and providing directives by action alone seemingly is something that the marshals feel as though that is in their purview, right?
Sure.
Go and say, hey, you guys need to do this, right? But in the same token, the statement is being made, well, we don't handle corrective behavior through
Mediclap
training.
too.
To me, that seems rather counterintuitive, right? And so that then begs the question, well, is that what all the marshals feel is their definition of oversight? Because, and if it is, maybe that entire notion needs to be revisited. And if it needs to be revisited, what parties should have that conversation? Because
I think there's a big difference between oversight and training, though. Don't you agree?
no, not by the
How?
definition of oversight.
Okay, what's the definition of oversight?
It's oversight would include monitoring,
Right.
unpacking issues, underlining corrective measures, and then implementing said corrective measures.
I don't think oversight would include implementation.
Why wouldn't it? Yeah, I mean, it traditionally is in every corporation around the United States. So why would law enforcement not? Like, think about
Because
the
oversight-
U.S. Think about oversight committees in Congress. That's exactly what they do.
So, like, are you saying that like Moss and Peters go out and like take cadets out on like a daily basis for like training sessions?
They do, actually.
So they're like fully trained FDOs that do like day-to-day training sessions with cadets, and that's their full-time job.
What is that? I don't understand the point you're making.
No, do they do that or no?
Are they full-time FTOs? That's what you just asked me.
Yeah, do they do that?
Are they full-time FTOs or do they FTO?
Yeah, are they full-time FDO?
It's not a, wait, what do you mean yes? It's a yes or no. I don't know which one you're asking for.
Oh, yeah, are they full-time FDO?
No, of course not.
Okay, but that's part of their. But you said they are FDO. That's fair enough. I'll give you that one. So they're high command, but they FDO. That's fair enough.
Okay.
The issue with the difference is so they give recommendations to P&T and they delegate to P&T and then P&T train people because they have a department of people in P&T to train people, right?
Okay.
Right. So why would it be different for marshals? So they high command is oversight, marshals are
Right.
oversight.
Right.
We would give recommendations and then P&T train cadets to enact those recommendations. Why would that be different? Why would the marshals have to go out their way to train the cadets or train the PD?
Yeah. I think you kind of missed the point, Doc. No, I am not inferring that the marshals would need to be. Okay, let's bring it back, because I think when you're hearing training, you're thinking PNT. If you're coming in, right, as a marshal, and you see that there's something wrong, right, a series of reports that underline some kind of like pattern behavior where charges are not being pressed properly, right? Then your first measure should probably be to talk to the high command and be like, this is what we're seeing, this needs to be resolved. In such a case, well, now you've done your job, right? You have now delegated to the department to handle it internally. However, if you take the approach of going into a meeting and generically making a statement, now you're doing something very different. At that point, you're telling people to follow these directives without giving them the full picture as to how they need to resolve it. One is going to high command and delegating down. The other is going to the actual individuals that need the implementation and skipping the training.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
Do you get the distinction?
Right. Yeah, I get I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But why would it be difficult for why would it be like there was an announcement made as well. It wasn't just like the meeting. You know that, right?
I told you that.
Yeah, but you said it was just in the meeting, but there was like a PD announcement.
No, I said in this conversation that Espino's sent a message out.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I said it like 5 minutes ago.
But it's also in the MD. I just want to clarify.
Okay.
So, okay, fair enough.
I feel like this is a gotcha. This is so bad faith.
So I guess a question is when the LSPD High Command and BCSO High Command, I guess you're aware that they make a lot of SOP changes, and they put them in the announcement tab in.
And these things were done
MDT.
as a consequence of myself and Trig pointing out this issue. It wasn't done until afterwards. So yes, it's good. I'm glad they followed our instructions.
No. I'm just saying when LSPD High Command and BCSO High Command put like announcements in the MDT for SOP changes.
Yeah.
Like, are they also training
I don't think
people when
SOP
they do
thing.
that? No, but when they do that, are they training people on those SOP changes?
What do you mean by that?
So when they make an announcement, that's an SOP change. So they're changing the way they do things.
Oh my God!
Right?
I give me a gun.
Are they training people how to do that, or are they just making an announcement?
You'd have to ask them. Is your point that because this particular thing was resolved, that this isn't a issue?
I guess I'm trying to point out that, like, you come in and say,
myself and Trig resolved this particular issue, but it's a pattern behavior. Had we not stepped in, this would not have been resolved.
Okay, my point is, if you're having an issue with the marshals on this particular issue, are you also going to have an issue with the PD, like PD High Command and BCSO High Command for doing the same thing?
I think you, Doc, with all due respect, I think you completely missed the point of my argument a while ago, because we are so deep in the weeds of this, like, whataboutism, that my underlining point here is we have marshals coming to the meetings, giving directives, and then saying that they're not willing to follow through with it until being told to do so. I think we can have this conversation without being so protective.
I'm not being protective. I'm not at all being protective.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether you're just like, the issue I'm having is not at all that this might be an issue with the marshals, but whether or not this is a issue with the PD as well.
Let's do this. Let's simplify this conversation. Are we do you agree with me that if the marshals uncover a issue, a pattern one, that they should probably go to high command about it, who then implement through their PNT the corrective measures? Agree or disagree?
I think it's a fair statement to make.
Okay. Well, would you agree that's probably the appropriate thing to do?
Sure, that's an appropriate thing to do.
Okay.
But I don't know whether it needs to go all the way to high command. I think it can go through, PNT.
So you're saying that the marshal should interface with another department's PNT directly? I'm okay with either way. I mean, I'm asking you to have a position here.
I don't see an issue with going straight to another department's PNT. I don't particularly know the best course of action, I'll be honest. I haven't really given it much thought. I mean, we've only had a 20-minute conversation.
Okay. Well, you should think about it. Bring it up with the other marshals. But this is the point that's been trying to make that I've been trying to make from the very beginning, is that this communication should be resolved because it is clearly a problem. Now, I understand that you may not see it. You haven't been at the meetings.
I don't know whether it's clearly a problem because I'm hearing it from you, and it doesn't sound like PD has an issue with it.
Well, you don't know that, right?
I mean, you don't know that either.
I do. I've spoken to him.
But they haven't brought it up.
Why would they?
Because you said you.
Listen.
You said you didn't know whether they have an issue with it.
Doc,
you said that earlier.
Sweetheart, listen. These
don't call me sweetheart. I'm married.
The gotcha
Only my husband
shit,
calls me sweetheart.
The gotcha shit isn't going to get anybody, all right? Listen, this isn't a very complicated conversation, all right? I'm bringing up an issue to you. Now, I'm sure that, we can play this game of like, hey, did this happen, whatever. It's very simple. I'm bringing it to your attention. If you think I need to bring it up to Angel directly, I can do that as well.
You listen, you're the mayor. You can do whatever you like. You know.
Yeah. All right. Well,
at the end of the day, but listen, I can have a chat with LSPD High Command and see what they think.
Please. That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Sure.
How's the Helen investigation going? By the way, what are your thoughts on that?
What Helen investigation?
The one where she put a gun into the mouth of a ICU patient and then went through a phone?
I believe Marshal Lockhart was working on that one.
Yeah. I heard nothing really came out of it other than a slap on the wrist.
Who'd you hear that from?
Oh, from one of the marshals. It's kind of crazy.
Oh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed that, is there anyone looking into why members of the sheriff's department were involved in a raid on Hydra, but then dropped the ball?
The sheriff department?
Yeah.
Which, we want to bet, what raid do you want to bet, Nino?
The one where the property is owned by Snow.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to ask how you're aware of that, and then we'll continue with the conversation.
That's a great question. People should stop leaking shit on Twitter.
Who leaked that on Twitter?
Half the city knows.
Okay, so so what sheriffs were involved in that?
That's a good question. Might be something to look into there, Doc.
You know, there was an LSPD-led investigation and raid.
Yeah. Right. Is that what the marshals are telling you?
No, that's what I'm completely and 100% factually aware of.
Right.
So you sure you want me to look?
The LSPD led the raid.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that means?
I mean, that's a factual statement.
Well, yeah. I want to understand. You mean Den Shiesty led it. That's what you mean.
And executed it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Were you guys involved in that at all?
I think there might be some
Am I
monsters on
sure I
scene
want to look
now.
for you to look into it? What does that mean?
I don't know. You saying
you
that
should look into it 100%.
Don't ask me a question and then interrupt my answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you wanted to ask about the sheriff's dropping the ball on it, and then
No,
and
no,
then
no, no.
then you find
That's
out
not what I said.
that's what you said.
That's not what I said. That's I think what you
You said
heard.
there was. That's what you said. There was sheriffs raiding hydrant, and then they dropped the ball.
Involved, not led.
Yeah, and then they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
What did you hear about the raid and then dropping the ball? What happened?
Well, I said you should look into it. You should ask.
Okay, I'll look into it.
I don't want to, tell you something that might not be true. Kind of like this other conversation we just had. Listen, Doc, you're a good guy, right? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say with that about the whole coming into these meetings things. But I kind of feel like you kind of have your hands up because it feels to me. Here's what I think, Doc. I think you may have the perception that my annoyance with select marshals coming into that PD meeting is a shot at all the marshals together, right? As a unit. That is not the case. I am calling you because I think that you have a good head on your shoulders, and I do want to see these departments function well. However, I do not agree that the manner by which it's happening is, number one, healthy for the marshals or the LSPD, and number two, not good for the people of Los Santos. So,
Okay. Well, I'll bring out the chain, and we'll have a chat with LSPD High Command about it.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna handle this?
Well, I'll pass it up the chain.
Okay. Perfect. Who do I speak to, or who do I expect the call back from?
I don't know whether you'll expect a call back from anybody. I'll be honest, because it's probably going to be dealt with LSPD.
Okay. All right. Easy. You take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.